Alert update: a Keshena man is indicted by a federal grand jury on counts related to drug overdoses on the Menominee Indian Reservation. Court documents say 41-year-old Warren Grino allegedly distributed fentanyl to 3 individuals on the reservation back in December. One of the people died as a result. The other 2 had to be revived by rescue crews but had serious injuries as a result of using the fentanyl. Grino faces a mandatory 60 years in prison. If convicted, he could receive life in prison and up to $3 million in fines.